Today, I'm revealing all of the secret advanced building techniques that will allow you to place things with ease, whether that's the placement, curves, or lighting in Satisfactory. The first thing that I wanted to talk about was the world grid. Now, everybody knows, or should know, if you hold control with a foundation, it will snap the foundation to the world grid. However, you should always use a 2 meter or 4 meter foundation. That's because no matter where you place them, they'll be able to align and with a 1 meter always be at the same height. However, if we did the same with the 1 meter, if we place this down, you'll notice that this is now just out. It's a total of 50 centimeters difference in height. Speaking of incrementally changing the height, if you place one of these pillars down, you can use either the catwalk crossings or the barriers to change the variation in the height without having particular snapping points. So you can just click against the walkway, and the same goes for the barrier as well. Doing this is particularly good when trying to fight off Z fighting, but we'll cover that in a moment. Depending on where you place this becomes the center point for a foundation. So you can see how we have placed the foundation directly on top of a beam. So if you want to place these on the corner here, you can do. But if you're looking for something a little more challenging when building, do check out today's sponsor, which is Dwarven Sky Keep. This charming deck-based building game forces you to make difficult decisions, building a wizard tower and then defending it until you accomplish the mission's objectives. Whether that's collecting random items from around the world or defending against waves of enemies and enemy bosses. You'll have to hire dwarves to do your building whilst trying to save the world from total destruction. Now, with the game based around deck building, you'll have to discover your own playstyle, whether that's spellcasting or commanding an army of dwarves. Collect artifacts that will give you in-game bonuses and make use of all the available rooms in your tower. It's hugely replayable, and the plot itself is both enticing and littered with comic moments. You can check out the game today by clicking the link in the description, or if you're interested in seeing more, do check out the video that we covered on Dwarven Sky Keep. I'll put a link in the top right hand corner now. One thing that I'm known for is my love of curves. So the next thing that we're going to be talking about is ways in which you can do curves. Now, the first one is by far the easiest and quickest to do. You're going to place a catwalk crossing on the far edge of the direction, or the opposite edge to the direction that you actually want to turn. So if you're turning to the right, which we are, we want to place this on the far left edge. And then we're going to grab another catwalk crossing, hold control, and from here we will pivot it one increment in the direction that we want the corner to go to. And we can just hold control, and as long as Zoop is on, we can turn. And then the next thing that you want to do is just grab a foundation, and we're just going to snap it to these walkways. And you can see this is a really easy way to produce a curve. Now, one thing that you might notice is Z fighting here. We can't actually see any here, but one way that you can get rid of Z fighting at the moment with the recent update is just to paint it a different material and then go back to the material that it was before, and that should resolve it. Oh, I should mention that this isn't the slightest corner that we can make. This is about 10 degrees in terms of its turning. We can actually do if we do the same, maybe above it actually. What we're going to do here is do another turn, and you'll see in comparison to this one, the slight degree of turn that it has. So once again, if we're turning to the right, we're going to want to start off on the opposite edge, which is the left one, and we're going to grab a walkway. This was brought to my attention by DC1, a rather good content creator. You should check them out both on YouTube and Twitch. But what we're going to do is place the walkway, instead of on the edge closest to where we're going to be turning, we want to do it on the furthest section. So the section behind, and then we're going to grab a foundation and we're going to place snap the foundation to this walkway so that the middle is in the center, well, the edge is in the center of this foundation. We're going to place that down, and then on top of here, holding Control, and this is another tip that I wanted to tell you about. Holding Control, we're allowed to place the foundation on any number of snapping points that we have here, and we can also, by turning the mouse wheel, holding Control, turn the foundation by 5 degrees. So we're going to place this foundation, or at least hover it, over the top of the current one, directly in the middle, and then we're going to turn this by 1 increment to in the direction that we want the corner to go, so to the right. And you can see how this has slightly turned. We're then going to grab this catwalk crossing, and we're going to place it in the opposite edge to what you're looking at, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to place a foundation against the walkway, and it will have its edge in the center. So we're going to place that down, then we will delete both these walkways and also this foundation and the foundation beneath it. And you'll notice how we now have this edge along this foundation. So we're going to have to place another foundation directly underneath it. Make sure you're not on Zoop, but just default for this, and then you can delete this. And voila, we have a slight turn. It's about half, I think it is half actually, the turn of the one beneath. If you hold down Control, we're actually able, first and foremost, to bring this line up and down the side. You can also pivot it by moving the mouse wheel. And this is really important because if we grab something like a sign here, we can actually hold down Control and then turn this on the edge. You can't do it on this side, but you can do it on the very top or bottom of the pillar. There's also numerous snapping points to do that with. Another thing that you can do is with these angles, if you twist them, you can then twist them on another angle as well to give you interesting pillar positions. Let's grab this one. And then from here, what we're going to do is place this down. And we can choose to place a pillar directly on top. If you want the pillar to go on the side, for example, in a foundation, all you need to do is run it sideways. Or if you want it to run along the top, you can do that. Or if you want it to be partially sunken into a foundation, we can place a pillar. Oh goodness me, I always get these mixed up. Place a beam on top of a beam, delete the one below, and then place the pillar beneath it. And you can do this as many times as you want in whatever position. Of course, this does leave you with, I think, a 1 meter gap. If you want to try anything else with that, you're going to have to get creative with free-formed beams and then positioning like here. But that's a bit more difficult. If we grab a painted beam, we can place this along the middle, and you'll notice how all the light has been blocked by that. This gives us very powerful options when it comes to using lights, because we can, should we wish, run the pillars along here, and it will allow us to create bearish shapes out of the lights. So if you want just a thin strip of light, you'll need to experiment with this, but you can make sure there is a hole in the middle, and then along the outside run beams. Now that we know how to shape the light, let's have a look at how we can hide the light without actually getting rid of the light itself. So if we grab these catwalk crossings, you'll notice that all the light disappears. However, what you can do is grab a T crossing. Okay, let's just do it like this. And run these across, and you'll notice there hasn't been a change to the light. So if you want, you can create a ceiling out of these walkways in order to allow the light to seep through. And from there, what we can do is maybe use signs, and you can create an effect that looks like a sign is actually lighting up the room. That is one thing that I recommend playing around with, but another thing that you can do is also change the direction of the light itself. So if we remove this for now, what if we want to light up this space? Well, what we can do, if we grab a tilted wall, things change slightly. So we will grab the light again, and if we place it on here, you can see how it's slightly changed our options for, well, our angle, which means it's now pointing upwards. So when we turn this on, it can now light up rather than lighting down. So the next thing that I wanted to cover was futuristic walls using signs. Now the way that we do this, you'll notice if we place these here and then grab these, it can be quite difficult to get the right positioning. But it certainly is possible. However, because it's on the same line as this, you'll notice, because it's placed directly in the middle from these sections, that it comes through on this side, and we don't necessarily want that. So what we need to do here is, before we place those signs, we need to grab one of the larger ones, the large billboards, and then place this directly one spot behind the place that we want the walls. And now you'll see that this is directly in between the wall, and we can clip or snap these walls directly to that sign. Now we're going to delete that large billboard, replace the signs like so. Might as well give them their own nice level background. And then from here we will grab our ramped floor wall again, and you'll notice how, because this has been placed slightly further back, it gives this a lovely setting. And at this point, if you found this video helpful, please do me a solid by hitting the thumbs up if it's been helpful. And obviously, if you want to see more and haven't already, do subscribe. The last tip that I'm going to leave you with today, if we run this, you'll notice how it's slightly on the wonk. This doesn't matter too much. However, it can be a little bit frustrating for some. The way that you can get over this is actually by grabbing the barrier, then holding Control. This will allow us to snap the barrier in front of it. From here, you're going to grab two walkways, one on the left and one on the right. And from here, we can snap our foundation to that and delete them, as you can see here. Then just grab your conveyor, and you'll notice this is now running straight out, and we can put that on a nice 90-degree turn. And from here, we can work out how to connect this to the actual grid. But it does mean that all of your conveyors are going to be leaving the miners centrally. So I hope you enjoyed that tip. But guys, we're going to leave it there. Special thanks does go to Dwarven Sky Keep for sponsoring this video, but also to all of our amazing supporters, most notably our solo Eclipse patrons, James Owen, Fireflesh, Trebor, and Beowulf, as well as our lunar Eclipse patrons, The Calamity, Ben, Star, Shoku, the MN Wolf, and That Dude AW, as well as our Blood Moon of the day, which today is Dashlom. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.